Betting on dogs at Mamamu Yan's Doggy Racetrack is always a minor activity in Majora's Mask. We go in, bet on a dog, win a piece of heart and leave. However, I wanted to look deeper into this topic, so here's a video about it. As most of you know, when wearing the Mask of Truth, we can read the dog's minds and hear their thoughts. Zelda Wiki describes those different types of quotes as rough, and who whine, and makes some general statements about them. But that's not enough for me. I went into more detail. At the end of my research, Link had a gambling addiction and had bet himself into poverty. Whoops. It's in the name of science. So, place your bets, polish your trophies, and let us see how exactly these races work. After entering the racetrack, one immediately notices that there are many dogs with different colors and at different positions. As most of you probably know, there are varying quotes that each dog says or thinks, 13 to be exact. Like I said, these quotes can be divided into 3 categories: rough, and who whine, with a corresponding sound, indicating the likeliness of a dog doing well in the race. Sometimes multiple dogs have the same quote. The results of a race are somewhat randomized and also depend on the quote the dog has. Like in every race, there's the leaders up front, the midfield and some backmarkers. The line-up at the beginning of the race is always somewhat the same, at least in regards to the order of color of all dogs. I couldn't make out a pattern of which color dog starts where in the set of 2 or 3 possibilities for each color. It seems to be randomized. However, there is somewhat of a smaller area of where each dog usually goes. There's no correlation between a dog running or walking and a quote predicting its final position, meaning a dog walking slowly can have a good quote, while a running dog can have a bad quote. The walking speed of each dog too seems to be randomized while entering the racetrack. Link can bet rupees on a dog he picks. If the dog finishes between 3rd and 5th, he will get back his rupees. If the dog finishes 2nd, he will receive double the rupees. If the dog finishes 1st, he will receive triple the rupees. Now, by what method exactly did I analyze the dogs and the races? I analyzed the dogs' races from the original Majora's Mask, released on the Nintendo 64. I chose one dog at a time and let it race repeatedly. After finishing 10 races, I calculated different values for the specific dog I picked, like the average finishing position, the range of results, the percentage of top 5 finishes, and the amount of rupees gained or lost after 10 consecutive races. This took me roughly half an hour for each dog. Yep, this indeed means I watched 190 races and noted the results of every race. Luckily, the races were still randomized when repeatedly loading the virtual console after picking the dog and talking to Mamamu Yan right before selecting to start the race. For forbid if I had to walk into the fenced area and pick a dog anew every time after a race. My results might sometimes be off by 1 place, since it on a few occasions was quite hard to tell at which place the dog actually finished due to close proximity of another dog. However, I think this shouldn't change the overall results I got. Considering I have a range of 6 or 7 places for some individual dogs, I think my method of reloading the virtual console instead of manually exiting and re-entering the racetrack still produces valid and varying results. I chose a bet of 10 rupees at each race for my calculations. While watching the races over and over again, I noticed some patterns. Dogs that are consistently good are the golden dog and dogs at the back with a good quote, like a brown one for example. Dogs that are bad are the blue dog and dogs with a "oh whine" quote. The blue dog leads for the first half of the race, but then falls behind. If the dogs have a good quote, they will end up at the front regardless of where they were positioned after the start. Don't worry about picking the brown dogs, even if they are one of the last dogs after the first few meters. The front usually consists of 3 to 5 dogs. Note that this list isn't a complete list. Early race performance is somewhat dependent on a dog's starting position. For example, the brown dog to the left always ends up last after the first few meters, but then catches up if he has a good quote. Another example is my analysis of the Pretty Well dog. As you can see, he was the most consistent of all. The two different results only come from the fact that I actually chose 2 different dogs to race with this quote. The aforementioned brown one to the left of the starting field for the first 5 races, and a white one at the center of the starting line for the last 5 races. The starting position only has a small effect on the dog's performance, plus minus 1.5 places on average, I'd guess. I think selecting a dog doesn't influence their overall result. It's completely determined by the color and quote, and doesn't take player selection into account. Meaning a dog will perform the same whether you select him or not doesn't matter for their result. Zelda Wiki claims that the blue dog sometimes gets slapped when he is doing extremely poorly, but I couldn't confirm this. So, what's actually a good strategy for winning?
Just pick the golden dog.
Yeah, okay, but what else? Pick one of the following dogs with a good quote. The golden dog, obviously. The dog who thinks he can win. The dog who races for his wife and child. And maybe the one doing pretty well, but isn't the brown one to the left. Now about some stuff I didn't expect beforehand. I didn't expect the dog who feels not much different than usual to do this badly. I expected his average to be more around 7 or 8, not 10.6, considering he has a mid-tier quote on paper.
If this is how you usually perform, you suck.
I mean, there's literally only a 0.2 difference between you and an old dog, for Hylia's sake. Also, I didn't expect the golden dog to race this badly with a rough quote. An average of 9.2 and only 0.2 better than its whole wine equivalent. Now, here are the results in detail. First of all are results in detail. Here are all dogs ranked by average finishing position. Here's a ranking by range of results. Now ranked by top 5 percentage. And finally ranked by rupees gained or lost. Here are some other tables, charts and graphs for additional analysis. Well, that's all I've got. For quite a while now, I found myself interested in how exactly the races work in detail. I mentioned it briefly in my video about farming rupees, and I'm very glad I finally got around to making this project. Watching the races and noting the results was somewhat of a chore, but little by little I went through all possibilities. It was a lot of fun uncovering one of the smaller mysteries in Majora's Mask, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Bye! Hey there! I have a Patreon page now. If you like my videos and want to support me, you can go check it out and donate a bit.